It's midnight. Your phone glows in the darkness. An email, a job offer. New city, double the salary, a title you've dreamed about. Your thumb hovers over the screen. Accept, decline. But you don't move. Your heart is racing. Not because anything is wrong, exactly. There's no predator in the room. No emergency. Just you, and a choice, and the sudden, overwhelming awareness that whatever you do next will split your life in two. One future where you go, another where you stay. Both are real. Both are possible. And in this moment, suspended between them, you feel something that has no name in polite conversation: dizziness. The 19th century Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard had a name for it. He called it the dizziness of freedom. That vertigo you feel when you stand at the edge of a decision and look down into the abyss of your own possibilities. It's not fear. Fear has an object: a snarling dog, a collapsing bridge, a tumor on a scan. You know what you're afraid of, and your body knows what to do: run, fight, freeze, prepare. But this is different. This is anxiety. Think about the moment before you propose to someone. The cursor blinking over a text message that could end a friendship if you hit send, or haunt you forever if you delete it. Standing at the edge of a high dive, the water far below, no one forcing you, no one stopping you, just the terrible freedom of the jump itself. These aren't moments of danger. They're moments of possibility. And possibility, it turns out, has weight. It presses on your chest. It makes time dilate and your hands shake. Kierkegaard saw something we've forgotten. Anxiety isn't just a symptom to be medicated away. It's a signal. It only appears where freedom is real, where you could genuinely go one way or another, where the future isn't written yet, and you, terrifyingly, beautifully, hold the pen. And here's the paradox. We spend enormous energy trying to eliminate anxiety. We optimize our routines, scroll through think pieces about productivity and self-care, construct elaborate systems to manage our inner weather. But what if anxiety isn't the enemy? What if it's a teacher, one we've stopped listening to because we've forgotten what it's trying to say? Modern life has multiplied these thresholds exponentially. Every app is a doorway. Every career pivot, every relationship choice, every curated identity we project into the digital void. Each one opens onto a new set of possibilities we are not sure how to navigate. We have more options than any generation in human history, and somehow we feel more paralyzed. We stand at 100 edges at once, and the dizziness never stops. So here's the question that will guide everything that follows. What if anxiety isn't just something to manage, but also something to understand? What does it teach us about freedom, about choice, about the weight of becoming a self? And what happens to a culture that tries to eliminate the very emotion that signals our capacity to choose? We're about to find out. But first, we need to go back to a small, orderly city in 1844, where a melancholic writer with a sharp pen decided to face the dizziness head-on. Copenhagen, 1844. A city of spires and cobblestones, quiet canals, Lutheran propriety. Denmark's golden age, a phrase that suggests enlightenment and progress, culture flowering in a small northern kingdom. On the surface, it's all very civilized. Beneath, a pressure is building. This is the world Søren Kierkegaard inhabits, and he finds it suffocating. The intellectual air is thick with Hegelianism. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, the German philosopher, has captivated Europe with his grand system. The idea that all of reality, all of history, can be captured in a rational structure. Contradictions resolve into higher syntheses. Individual experiences dissolve into the march of the world spirit. Everything has its place. Everything makes sense. Its philosophy is total architecture, and it's everywhere. In polite Copenhagen society, educated men speak in Hegelian abstractions. They talk about history with a capital H. They believe reason can totalize existence, that the messiness of individual life can be smoothed into coherent categories. They are confident, they are systematic, and Kierkegaard, he's furious. Because here's what the systems miss. You, the specific, sweating, anxious individual standing at a threshold with a choice to make. The irreducible fact of subjective existence. What it feels like to be you right now, faced with freedom you didn't ask for. No system can live your life for you. No grand theory can make your decisions. The moment of choice is always singular, always yours, always terrifying. So in 1844, Kierkegaard publishes a strange, dense, brilliant book. It's called The Concept of Anxiety. But here's the twist. He doesn't put his own name on it. Instead, he signs it with a pseudonym, Vigilius Haufniensis, the Watchman of Copenhagen. Why the mask? Because Kierkegaard isn't interested in building another system for you to passively consume. He's interested in making you responsible. Each of his pseudonymous authors explores a different existential perspective, not as dogma, but as possibility. You, the reader, have to choose which perspective speaks to your condition. You have to do the work. Even reading philosophy for Kierkegaard is a threshold. The Concept of Anxiety sits among a constellation of works from this explosive period of Kierkegaard's life. In 1843, he published Either Or, a massive exploration of the choice between aesthetic and ethical life, the necessity of the leap from one mode of existence to another. That same year came Fear and Trembling, where he dissects the paradox of faith through the story of Abraham and Isaac. Faith as a movement beyond reason, beyond ethics, into radical trust. Later, in 1849, he'll write The Sickness unto Death, analyzing despair as a misrelation of the self to itself, a spiritual illness unto death. But the concept of anxiety has a specific, audacious aim. It's subtitled, A Simple Psychologically Oriented Deliberation on the Dogmatic Issue of Hereditary Sin. In other words, Kierkegaard is going to take a Christian doctrine, original sin, the fall of humanity, and read it not as theology, but as psychology. As a map of the human condition, let's define the key term. Anxiety, in Danish, angest, is not the same as fear. Fear is directed. It has an object. You fear the storm, the attacker, the diagnosis. But anxiety is objectless. It arises in the presence of possibility itself. It's the emotional texture of freedom. And here's Kierkegaard's radical insight. Anxiety is the presupposition of hereditary sin, not sin itself, not guilt, but the condition that makes the transition from innocence to guilt possible. Imagine innocence, not moral purity, but a kind of harmony. Childhood before self-awareness. A state where you haven't yet grasped that you are free, that your actions have weight, that you could be otherwise. Kierkegaard calls it ignorance, but not in a pejorative sense. It's simply a state where freedom hasn't yet announced itself. Then something shifts. You become aware, dimly, disturbingly, that you could do something, that there are possibilities. And with that awareness comes anxiety, a trembling, a seduction. Possibility both attracts and repels. The forbidden fruit isn't just prohibited, it's interesting. It whispers, and anxiety is the medium of that whisper. This is the fall, reinterpreted, not as a single historical event in a garden, but as a structure every human being reenacts. The movement from innocence to guilt isn't gradual, it's a qualitative leap, a discontinuous threshold. One moment you are innocent, the next you are responsible, and you can't uncross that line. Hereditary sin for Kierkegaard isn't a biological infection passed down through generations. It's an existential condition. Each of us, in becoming aware of our freedom, reenacts the fall. Each of us experiences that first vertigo, the dizziness that precedes the leap into guilt, into selfhood, into history. But there's a darker possibility lurking in these pages. Kierkegaard introduces a concept he calls the demonic. It's one of the most unsettling ideas in the book. The demonic isn't about pitchforks and possession. It's about closed inwardness. It's the refusal to disclose oneself, the refusal to communicate, to open up, to be vulnerable. It's secrecy as a form of self-imprisonment. Think about it. Anxiety confronts you with possibility. It invites or forces you to speak, to decide, to leap. But you can also refuse. You can withdraw into yourself. You can cultivate endless inner monologues, infinite private deliberations, a rich fantasy life of what if and maybe someday, but never act. Never declare yourself. Never commit. You stay fascinated with the menu, but you never order. That's the demonic. Possibility curdles into a prison. Anxiety, which should be a teacher, becomes a tormentor. Not because it's too intense, but because you've made it your home. And here's where Kierkegaard becomes prophetic. His work prefigures 20th century existentialism. Martin Heidegger, the German philosopher, will later write about angst, the anxiety that reveals the nothingness at the heart of being, the uncanny realization that existence has no predetermined script. Paul Tillich and Rollo May will bring these ideas into psychology, exploring anxiety as an ontological condition, not just a clinical symptom. But Kierkegaard is different from Freud, who will later dominate psychology. Freud sees anxiety as a symptom of repressed content, forbidden desires, traumatic memories pushed into the unconscious. Kierkegaard sees anxiety as structural. It's not about what you're repressing. It's about the very fact of your freedom, your responsibility, your capacity to become a self. This is existential psychology before there was a name for it. And it's a psychology that refuses to reduce you to a mechanism. You are not a system. You are a person standing at a threshold, dizzy with freedom, and no theory can do the choosing for you. The Watchman of Copenhagen is calling out a warning, but also an invitation. So how does it work? How does freedom feel? Why does possibility, something that should be liberating, feel like vertigo? Let's dissect the mechanism. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom, Kierkegaard's most famous phrase. But what does it mean? Picture yourself at a great height, a cliff edge, a rooftop, a high dive. You're not being pushed. There's a railing. You're safe, but you feel a strange pull, not because you want to jump exactly, but because you could. And in that moment, your normal sense of self becomes unmoored. You apprehend, viscerally, that you are not a fixed thing. You are a being of possibilities. Multiple futures crystallize in your mind at once, and none of them are inevitable. Time dilates. Your awareness becomes hyper-acute. Every consequence looms large, and there's a temptation, not to jump necessarily, but to resolve the tension, to grab the nearest certainty even if it's the wrong one, to delete the risky text message just to stop feeling this way, or to send it impulsively for the same reason. This is freedom's vertigo, and it's fundamentally different from fear. Fear has an object, a bear in the woods, a car swerving into your lane, an angry boss. Your body knows what to do with fear: run, fight, freeze, defend. There's a script, there's a target. Anxiety has no object. It's not about something external. It's about your own capacity to choose and the indeterminate future that choice opens onto. There's nothing to fight, nothing to flee. No external problem to solve. The problem, if we can even call it that, is your own freedom. And this is why conventional fear reduction strategies don't work on anxiety. You can't remove the threat, because there is no threat. There's only possibility. Kierkegaard maps this out as a developmental sequence: innocence, anxiety, guilt. Start with innocence. Not moral innocence, but existential innocence. A state of harmony where you haven't yet grasped the weight of your own agency. Think of a child before the age of reflective self-awareness. Things happen, yes. There are rules, consequences. But the child hasn't yet internalized that they are the origin of their actions in a deep, responsible sense. Then, anxiety appears. It's the first shimmer of reflection, the first awareness that you could do something. That possibility exists, and possibility is both alluring and terrifying. It seduces. The forbidden tree in the garden isn't just forbidden, it's interesting. Knowledge, power, autonomy, they call to you. Anxiety is the emotion of that call. It precedes the choice. It's not guilt. You haven't done anything yet. But it's not innocence either. You're on the threshold. And then comes the leap, the qualitative leap. You choose, you act. And in that moment, you transition from innocence to guilt. Not necessarily because you've done something morally wrong, but because you've become responsible. You've taken on the weight of agency. You can't go back. You are no longer innocent in the sense of being unburdened by choice. And here's the paradox Kierkegaard insists upon. This same condition, anxiety, the dizziness, the seduction of possibility, is what makes ethical life possible. Without anxiety, there is no deep choice. There's only habit, mimicry, doing what you're told. Anxiety is the signal that you are standing before a real decision, one that will constitute who you are. In this sense, anxiety is a teacher. Consider the artist who has a body of work but never releases it. The manuscript sits in a drawer. The portfolio stays private. Why? Fear of judgment, yes. But more fundamentally, as long as the work stays unreleased, it exists in the realm of pure possibility. It could be perfect. It could change everything. Once it's released, it becomes actual, finite, imperfect, open to criticism. The anxiety of that transition is enormous. But it's also the only way to be an artist, rather than someone who merely thinks about being one. Or consider the person who circles endlessly around commitment. Relationships, careers, cities, they keep their options open, always. Not because they're frivolous, but because choosing one path feels like a kind of death to all the others. And it is. Every choice forecloses. Every commitment excludes. Anxiety signals this. It says, this matters. This will change you. Choose carefully. It's the emotional registration of the stakes. But, and here's where things get dark, anxiety can also deform. Remember the demonic? Closed inwardness, the refusal to disclose, to communicate, to leap. Anxiety can become a fixation. You can start to prefer the state of suspended possibility, because at least there, nothing has been lost yet. You maintain the fantasy of total freedom, all paths still open, at the cost of never actually walking any of them. This is analysis paralysis, rumination, the endless internal debate that never reaches a conclusion. You research every option, construct elaborate pro-con lists, seek more information, wait for more certainty. But certainty never comes. Because the nature of a real choice is that it exceeds calculation. You can't prove that one path is correct. You have to leap. And if you refuse to leap, anxiety curdles. It stops being a teacher and becomes a prison. You become fascinated with your own inner life, your own endless deliberations, but you never engage with the world. You never declare yourself. You never become actual. Modern psychology has its own language for this. Intolerance of uncertainty. The inability to tolerate ambiguity, which drives the mind to seek premature closure or engage in safety behaviors. Checking, reassurance seeking, avoidance. Choice overload. When too many options produce paralysis and regret. Studies show that people with more choices often end up less satisfied because they're haunted by counterfactuals. What if I'd chosen differently? And here's the kicker. Anxiety doesn't decline when options expand. It declines when you commit, when you close off possibilities, when you bind yourself to a path. This is deeply counterintuitive. We think freedom means keeping all doors open. But psychologically, that's a recipe for chronic anxiety. What reduces anxiety is chosen constraint. Vows, promises, projects, decisions you can't easily undo. Kierkegaard calls this the leap. And it's non-deductive. No amount of information will eliminate the risk. No spreadsheet will tell you which life to live. At some point, you have to choose without certainty. You have to step off the edge. And then, and this is crucial, you have to choose again. Kierkegaard has another concept: repetition. Not repetition in the sense of mindless routine, but repetition as renewal. You choose your commitment again today, under new conditions. You choose your marriage again after a fight. You choose your vocation again when it gets hard. Freedom isn't a one-time leap, it's a practice. And here's where things get truly profound. There's a difference between anxiety and despair. Anxiety concerns possibility, what could be, what might happen, the burden of an open future. Despair, which Kierkegaard explores in The Sickness Unto Death, is a misrelation to oneself. Despair is refusing to be yourself, or despairingly wanting to be yourself, or refusing the relationship to the ground of your being, which, for Kierkegaard, is God. Anxiety can lead to despair if it's not faced. If you let the dizziness become permanent, if you never leap, anxiety can decay into a deeper sickness, a sense that existence itself is wrong, that you are fundamentally out of joint. But anxiety can also become faith. Not faith as belief in propositions, but faith as trust beyond proof. The willingness to choose, to commit, to step into the unknown because you trust that the leap is worth it. Anxiety is the precondition. Faith is the response, and that's the mechanism. Anxiety is the felt response to freedom. It can educate you into responsibility, mature you into a self capable of commitment, or it can trap you in an endless hall of mirrors, fascinated by possibilities you'll never actualize. The mechanism is neutral. What matters is what you do with it. Now let's come forward, from Copenhagen 1844 to the present, because if Kierkegaard thought anxiety was a problem in his polite, ordered Lutheran world, he should see us now. We live in the algorithm of possibility. Every morning you wake up to feeds engineered to show you what you're missing. Other lives, other careers, other bodies, vacations, relationships, achievements. The algorithm doesn't show you a stable world, it shows you an infinite one. Every scroll is a new maybe. Every post is a counterfactual. Look at what you could be doing. Look at who you could be dating. Look at the career you could have, the body you could inhabit, the lifestyle you could be living. It never stops. And the psychology is brutal. Researchers call it FOMO, fear of missing out. But it's more than fear. It's anxiety in Kierkegaard's precise sense. You're not afraid of a specific threat. You're overwhelmed by unrealized possibilities. Every choice you make excludes 1,000 others, and the algorithm makes sure you see them. Every path not taken haunts you in high resolution. Then there's the culture of you as a brand. Your identity isn't something you are, it's something you curate. A project, a product. You optimize your LinkedIn, your Instagram, your dating profile. You A/B test your personality. And there's no final version, only updates. You are always in beta, always provisional, always open to disruption. This is freedom as perpetual contingency, and it's exhausting. Consider work. The old model, stable career ladder, loyalty rewarded with security, has collapsed. Now you have a lattice, horizontal moves, pivots, side hustles, the gig economy, portfolio careers, and the default advice? Keep your options open, which sounds empowering, but what it means in practice is that you're always hedging, always maintaining multiple possibilities, always preparing for the next move before you've committed to the current one. You can't sink roots because you might need to pivot, and the cognitive load is immense. You're not just doing your job, you're managing your career strategy. You're not just living, you're optimizing. Every hour is a potential investment. Every skill could be monetized. Every connection could be leverage. Burnout, in this context, isn't just about workload. It's existential. It's the exhaustion of unmade decisions, the anxiety of infinite optionality. Now consider relationships. Dating apps have turned romance into a menu with infinite pages. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Every profile is a possibility. And here's the trap. The menu never closes. You could always see one more person, one more option, one more, maybe they're the one. So commitment feels premature. Why settle when you don't know what's around the corner? The grass isn't just greener on the other side. It's visible, in real time, with photos and compatibility scores. And when things get difficult, because all relationships get difficult, there's a temptation to swipe again rather than work through it. The exit is always one tap away. Ghosting is the perfect example of what Kierkegaard called the demonic. Refusal to communicate, refusal to disclose. You disappear rather than have an awkward conversation, because that conversation would require you to declare yourself, to be vulnerable, to be known, to close off the possibility of keeping someone on the hook while you explore other options. Silence as self-imprisonment, secrecy as strategy. And it's not just romantic relationships, friendships too, communities. We join discords and Slack channels and group chats, maintaining weak ties to hundreds of people but deep commitment to almost none. We keep everyone at medium distance, close enough to feel connected, far enough to preserve freedom, but the freedom starts to feel like loneliness. Then there's the wellness industrial complex. Now, to be clear, mental health care is vital. Therapy is valuable. Medication saves lives. But there's a shadow side. The language of self-care and optimization can become a new form of the demonic. Endless research into your own psychology. Meditation apps, journaling prompts, courses on boundaries and self-compassion. All good things, but they can become safety behaviors. Ways to manage anxiety without ever engaging the choices that produce it. You can spend years working on yourself, preparing to live, healing before you act. And at some point, preparation becomes postponement. Anxiety management becomes a substitute for life. And here's a crucial distinction. Clinical anxiety, the kind that meets diagnostic criteria, that impairs functioning, that may have neurobiological roots, is real, and it often requires treatment. Medication, therapy, lifestyle changes. No question. But existential anxiety, the kind Kierkegaard is talking about, isn't a disorder. It's a signal. It's the felt weight of meaningful choice. And you can't medicate it away because it's not a bug. It's a feature of being free. The confusion between the two is rampant. We pathologize the dizziness of freedom and try to eliminate it, when what we need is to navigate it. So what's the alternative? Kierkegaard would say, design constraints. Choose your chains. Because here's the secret. Constraints aren't the enemy of freedom. They're freedom's scaffolding. Think about the artist who works only with black ink, the poet who writes sonnets, the filmmaker who shoots on 16mm. The constraint doesn't limit creativity, it channels it. It turns infinite possibility into a workable problem. The same is true for life. You set a bounded media diet, 1 hour of social media a day, or none before noon. You define work windows. After 6 p.m. the laptop closes. You make commitments you can't easily undo. Buy the non-refundable plane ticket, adopt the dog, say yes publicly so there's social cost to backing out. You choose deadlines. You make promises. You take small, irreversible steps that convert possibility into actuality. You date someone exclusively for 6 months before evaluating whether to continue. You commit to a city for 2 years. You finish the degree even when it's hard, because you said you would. These aren't failures of freedom. They're expressions of freedom. You're using your freedom to bind your future self, and in doing so, you reduce the noise floor of possibility. You create a stable ground to build on. Kierkegaard would call this the ethical life. Not in the sense of following rules, but in the sense of taking responsibility for your own continuity. You become someone who keeps promises, who honors commitments, who finishes things. And paradoxically, that constraint makes you more free, because you're no longer drowning in options. You've chosen a path, and now you can walk it. This is how you metabolize anxiety. Not by eliminating it, but by meeting it with decision. By leaping, and then by choosing again and again, in the practice Kierkegaard calls repetition. The dizziness doesn't disappear, but it becomes a compass rather than a curse. So let's bring it home. Anxiety is not a bug in the system. It's not a defect to be patched or a symptom to be suppressed. It's the felt signature of freedom. The emotional register of standing at a threshold where multiple futures are genuinely open and you, terrifyingly, beautifully, have to choose. Kierkegaard saw this in 1844, in a world far simpler than ours. But his insight is more urgent now than ever. We have multiplied the thresholds. We have infinitized the options. We have built a culture that worships possibility but offers no instruction in decision. And so we stand at 100 edges at once, dizzy, paralyzed, haunted by paths not taken. But anxiety is also a teacher. It teaches us that we are not mechanisms. We are not determined. We are not reducible to data points or predictable outputs. We are free, and freedom has weight. Anxiety can deform into the demonic, into closed inwardness, endless rumination, the refusal to declare ourselves. We can become fascinated with our own possibilities and never actualize any of them. We can live entirely in our heads, curating private fantasies of who we might be, while never stepping into the world and becoming someone. Or anxiety can educate us. It can force the leap. It can mature us into selves capable of commitment, responsibility, faith. It can teach us that chosen constraints are not prisons. They are the scaffolding that lets us build a life. The leap cannot be outsourced. No expert can make your decisions. No algorithm can optimize your existence. No system can totalize the irreducible fact of you, standing at a threshold with a choice to make. And here's the paradox. Anxiety exposes both our agency and our limits. You cannot compute a life. You cannot gather enough information to eliminate risk. At some point, calculation ends and decision begins. You have to commit to one path, knowing you're foreclosing others. You have to step off the edge without certainty. And the dizziness? It doesn't go away, not completely. Even after you choose, there will be moments when you look down and feel the vertigo again. When you wonder if you chose wrong, when the algorithm shows you another life you could be living. But if you've chosen well, if you've leaped towards something that matters, something that calls to you, the dizziness becomes productive. It reminds you that your life is not automatic, that you are renewing your commitment, that you are responsible. This is the ambiguous gift of anxiety. It won't make your life comfortable, but it will make it yours. So here's the lingering thought, the question I want to leave you with. If you knew anxiety would never fully leave, if you knew the dizziness was part of being human, part of being free, what would you choose anyway? What threshold have you been circling for months? What decision have you postponed because you're waiting for more certainty that will never come? What life is waiting on the other side of a leap you're afraid to take? I'm not asking you to be reckless. I'm asking you to recognize the signal for what it is. Anxiety is not the enemy, paralysis is. So here's a practice. Identify one threshold, one real, specific decision you've been avoiding. Set a clear date, not someday, but Tuesday at 3 p.m. And then take one small, irreversible action toward it. Send the email, buy the ticket, delete the backup plan, make possibility actual. You'll feel the dizziness. That's okay. That's the signal that this matters, that you're standing before a real doorway, and what you do next will change you. And then, step. Not because you're certain, not because the future is clear, but because you trust that the life you're building, the self you're becoming, is worth the vertigo. The diver stands at the edge. No one pushes. No one pulls. The water is far below. The board is firm beneath their feet. And then they choose. They step, and they fall. No, they leap into the open air. That's freedom. That's anxiety. That's the dizziness and the beauty of being human. And that's the courage to choose.